Fellas, in today's video, we're going to be talking about something a little bit different because pretty often we see like underrated NBA players videos, right? But in this video, I'm going to be talking about some players that aren't necessarily underrated in this moment, but down the road, when people look back at this era of NBA basketball, these 5 players, in my opinion, are pretty likely going to be underrated, by the people that are kind of talking about what basketball was like in 2020 and 2021. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. If you're new here, what's up? My name's Tucker. I upload twice a day, every day, all throughout the NBA season. So if you're looking for a place for consistent NBA content, this is a great place to be. You can go and sub the channel to stay up to date with everything I have going on here. You can also like the video as well. Helps me out a ton and lets me know that you're enjoying the content and helps get it out to more people on YouTube. And you check me out at various socials. That is in a link tree down in the description below. Every single social media that I have is in that link tree if you guys want to go check that out. With those things said, let's go and get to the list. And I'm just going to go ahead and start off with a big swing here. It's a big name, and it's Draymond Green. And it's weird because I think you can make the argument that at certain points, Draymond Green has been overrated in his NBA career. But as people get further and further away from this era, and we look differently at the success of this era of Warriors basketball, I think that down the road, people are going to look back and they're going to pull up the basketball reference page 10 years from now. They're going to look and say, man, if only the Warriors could get value out of that Draymond guy, or maybe they could have moved him at some point and they would have been even better during this stretch. Because just based off the statistical production, the shooting percentages, things like that, Draymond Green's time in Golden State does not look all that impactful. But I will be there to defend Draymond Green and say, no, you don't understand the value that he had to that team. Were there struggles at times with his shooting on the perimeter? Absolutely. Were there times where the only thing you could do against Golden State to beat them was let Draymond shoot and hope for the best, and sometimes that worked? Yes, absolutely. However, at his size, to be as good of a defender as he is with an incredible wingspan, can play the 4 or the 5, gave them great versatility, an outstanding passer, could really push the ball in transition so that you have all these shooters on the wings so that Steph and Klay don't have to bring the ball up. He can push it in transition and either of those guys are on the wings. And just such a plug-and-play, versatile player. Yes, a flawed player. But if you want to go strictly by the statistics, that is an incredible mistake to make as you're looking back on the career of Draymond Green. So someone that I personally will defend, and I think that, as we get further and further away from this era, people will continue to underrate the value of Draymond Green on the team, not only on the court, but from a chemistry and from a, being the heart of the team standpoint as well. And there are times where, Draymond was awesome and the other guys let him down. Like Game 7 in the finals that they lost to the Cavs in 2016, Draymond was awesome. He made like 5 threes in the first half. He was making everything he looked at, and other guys, didn't make plays down the stretch. And so not everything, not every loss, not every bad moment was on Draymond, and he was a huge part of those teams. And I'll be there to defend him, down the road if anybody wants to call that into question. Next up now on the list is Jimmy Butler, another one that I think when people look at the statistics down the road, they're going to think, was this guy actually any good? And I'm going to be honest, I have had multiple videos on this channel where I'm questioning Jimmy Butler outright. I'm questioning, does this guy have what it takes to be the leader of the team? Does what he does as a player work in the modern NBA? Is he just too competitive to a point where it is a detriment to his team? I have made videos asking those questions about Jimmy Butler. But I'm now on the other side of thinking, you know what? Are there some annoying parts about Jimmy Butler's game? Absolutely. But I think at the end of the day, 10 years from now, people are going to, they're going to pull up the basketball reference page, they're going to look at his stats, and they're going to think, this guy really wasn't that great of a shooter, or he wasn't a super great playmaker, or his teams didn't make the playoffs maybe as much as they should have. But I'm telling you, Jimmy Butler's a really good player. We just saw it, in that postseason run. And maybe you guys want to make the argument that he's going to be overrated because people are going to overrate the postseason run that they just had. I'm just here to say that I think Jimmy Butler is really good, and I think that there is a scenario in which people just pull up his percentages and they say he was an inefficient player that didn't actually help your team win basketball games, when in reality, if you're there watching the games, you can see that he's a great two-way player, someone that fits into a lot of different situations and has done really well with the situations that he has been placed in throughout his career. So again, just like Draymond, I will be there to defend Jimmy Butler 10 years from now. Someone tries to say that he was not a very good player. Next up, another big one. This one might be a bit of a surprise for some people. I'm going to go Kyle Lowry, and I don't know if this is going to be a statistical based one because there are certainly plenty of stats where you can go back and look and see that Kyle Lowry had really good seasons. Certainly in the middle part of his career, there are some holes to kind of poke in his resume in terms of some of the postseason success and some of the struggles that he did have. But then, of course, winning the title kind of washes all those things away. But I just think overall, people are going to undervalue the impact that Kyle Lowry has on the floor from a defensive standpoint, drawing charges, all those different kinds of things. And again, those are just things that are not going to show up on a basketball reference page. And I think that in general, if you put Kyle Lowry, 31, 32-year-old Kyle Lowry on a team, and you put some pretty decent players around him and a good coach, like, you're going to make the playoffs. You're going to win 45 games. You're going to win 50 games. And I'm not sure how many smaller-ish guards there have been in the last 10 years in the league that you can really say that about. I think he drives winning. He's a playmaker. He's a shooter. He can do a ton of different things defensively and offensively. And those kinds of plug-and-play players, their value and their impact is not necessarily seen fully on the stat sheet. And I think Kyle Lowry would be one of those players, like I said, that 10 years from now, someone's going to try and say, well, that championship was all Kawhi, or Kyle Lowry was never anything without Kawhi, never did anything in the postseason without Kawhi. In those finals, though, like, Kyle Lowry was really, really good, one of the best players on the floor, and has been consistently a driving force of success in Toronto in the regular season for the entire time, basically, and more recently in the postseason as well. So I give all the credit in the world to Kyle Lowry. Two more now. The fourth one is actually the guy that instigated this list in the first place, and it's Chris Middleton. I honestly think that Chris Middleton's a pretty underrated player right now, because he went from being this like really good up-and-coming player to a legitimate number 2 alongside Giannis to, wow, this guy just got paid a lot of money, to we just kind of forget about Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton, realistically, like when he's locked in, is one of the better defenders in the league. He is so annoying to play against because he's got such great size and length. He's so square, he's so strong, he's so well balanced that he can stay with pretty much everybody on the perimeter, contest every shot, and he's not going to lock anybody down necessarily, but he's just a guy that big time players, they don't want to go up against, when he's guarding them. And then offensively, are there holes in his game? Absolutely. He's not a great driver, and he can definitely, go into shooting slumps. You can talk about the postseason stuff if you want to, but for me, I'll take Chris Middleton on my team every day of the week. I think that he is a perfect 2 guard. If you have a ton of other perimeter creation, he's exactly what you want in this era of basketball. He can shoot it in the mid-range. He can rebound. He's a great 3-point shooter and is a really, really good defender with size that can play the 2. He can play the 3. You can go even smaller than that with him if you really, really want to, and is someone that is absolutely incredibly valuable. And I think moving forward, some people are going to make the case that, he was only ever an all-star because the East didn't have a ton of really good guards, and that's why he made multiple all-star teams, and it was because the East was weak, the East was weak, the East was weak. Newsflash, the East hasn't been that weak over the last couple of seasons at the top. Maybe throughout and at the bottom, there's not as much depth, but at the very, very top, the East has been an incredibly competitive conference. Chris Middleton's entire time in Milwaukee, and I wouldn't make that case against him in the future if I were you. And again, if someone 10 years from now wants to say that Chris Middleton wasn't that good, I'll be there to say otherwise. And then last up now is another statistical one, and it's Marc Gasol, because there are some really good statistical seasons for Marc Gasol, but there's also some in which I feel like he had a really, really big impact. And maybe people didn't consider him to be like an all-NBA caliber player in those seasons, but Marc Gasol defensively is just so good from a positional standpoint. He's almost always in the right spot, is a great rim protector even while not being a fantastic athlete, has learned throughout his career to space the floor as well to continue to be a better and better offensive weapon. And obviously as he's getting older, things are getting more difficult for him, but I don't think we can undersell and undervalue how good Marc Gasol has been for basically his entire career. I mean, it's pretty rare to have a guy with his athletic limitations be a legitimate defensive player of the year caliber player and a really good offensive player at the same time. And again, those defensive contributions I think are going to get glossed over a little bit as we go throughout the NBA, as we go forward in NBA history, and people are just going to look at the numbers and they're just going to look at the offensive stuff and say, wow, he was really good in some seasons and not so great in others, and maybe he wasn't actually that good. I can promise you, if you go and watch a game in which Marc Gasol is playing, he is that good. One of the better passing big men of the modern era, a really nice shooter now here later on in his career, and one of the better defensive bigs that we've seen in the last 10 or so years as well. And I don't underrate Marc Gasol. That's all I'm saying. So that's the entire list. Let me know down in the comment section below who you guys would have put on this list. Again, it's an interesting little twist because some of these players you could argue are overrated in this moment, but long term, who is going to be a really, really underrated player that, you're going to be someone that was there and you saw them, and there's going to be this like 18-year-old kid that's going to say, Draymond Green was never any good. You're going to say, well, if you'd watch the games, if you were actually there, you'd understand, no, there's actually a ton of value there. Who is that player for you guys? Let me know down in the comment section below. But that is going to be the end of today's video. As I said in the beginning, my name is Tucker. If you're looking for consistent NBA content like this, you can subscribe, you can like the video, you can check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen as well. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day. Keep an eye out for some more videos from me just like this, as well as the redraft series that'll be coming out, periodically as well. with all those things said, hope you guys, as I said, have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.